The trade agreement between the EU and Great Britain is published. Now the detailed analysis begins under enormous time pressure. Because political decisions have to be made before the new year. The search for the devil begins on Boxing Day. The devil is in the details, wrote Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson in a message to MPs from his Conservative Tories, reported by the British media. But he's sure that the contract will stand up to the analysis of lawyers. It's about the trade agreement between the EU and Great Britain. What Johnson wrote down so laconically is in reality an extreme burden on politics and administration. Because now that both sides published the full text of the agreement on Saturday morning, they have to analyze what that actually means. 1246 pages, countless clauses, details, lots of hiding places for devils. And there's not much time left. Actually, almost no time at all. Because before the end of this year, all EU member states and Great Britain must agree so that the agreement can at least temporarily come into force in the new year. A spokesman for the German EU Council presidency spoke of a huge task. In many countries, a cabinet decision is sufficient for approval. In some cases, however, parliamentary information may also be necessary. In countries with a minority government, it should not go without talks with the opposition. On Monday, the federal cabinet wants to deal with the contract in a switching conference. This stipulates that trade and investment require conditions for fair and open competition. However, should there be significant differences between the two sides regarding the rules, then they can rebalance the agreement. For example, there should be an independent body on both sides to monitor the legality of subsidies. So many actors who have their own interests and every right to have a say. But in the end, they should please go along with them. Otherwise, the tight schedule gets mixed up. According to information from the AFP news agency, the EU ambassadors of the 27 member states want to meet again on Monday and discuss questions and objections. They could then initiate a so-called written procedure through which the EU countries jointly declare their consent. A result should be available by Tuesday morning, according to an EU internal schedule. At the same time, the agreement in Great Britain should go through Parliament. That should happen in a special session on December 30th. Public positioning has already started on the island. The European Research Group, a group of EU opponents within the Tory group, has announced an analysis of the deal by a team of lawyers. The leader of the opposition Labour Party, Keir Starmer, on the other hand, has promised his party's approval. Leadership means making difficult decisions in the national interest, he said. It is a matter of a clear decision between this agreement and none. That is the dilemma that all sides face. Even if you find the devil in the details under time pressure, isn't the bigger problem in the end a Brexit without a trade agreement? Not all Starmer's party friends are convinced. How do you as an opposition want to criticize the consequences if you have agreed to it? So many are skeptical. Just don't give the impression that you are nodding off everything. Observers still expect a clearer majority in the British House of Commons. The dilemma for the EU Parliament is even greater. It is the only body that does not submit to the schedule because employment in the committees would no longer be possible before the new year. It won't be decided until January. Until then, the agreement can only be applied provisionally. Everything is subject to the approval of the European Parliament. It must also be clear that the European Parliament can still change things. It can't be eat it or die now, said the spokeswoman for European policy of the Greens in the Bundestag, Franziska Brandner. But the pressure on the MEPs is likely to increase not to create new uncertainty again. The rough lines of the agreement had already become known on Christmas Eve, shortly after the two sides had come to an agreement. In principle, trade in goods will remain duty-free, but British exporters to the EU will have to laboriously prove from the turn of the year that their products were mainly manufactured in their own country. Evidence of compliance with EU rules on food safety and compliance with product standards must also be provided in future. The UK does not have to automatically adopt new social or environmental standards that the EU will adopt in the future. However, if it gains a competitive advantage through lower standards, countermeasures are possible. Fisheries was one of the biggest and most symbolic issues in the negotiations. Brussels and London agreed to cut fishing rights for EU fishermen by 25% over 5.5 years. From June 2026, annual negotiations are to be held on catch quotas. The UK will drop out of the Erasmus student program after almost 34 years. Anyone who, as an EU citizen, wants to work and live permanently in the UK in the future must apply for a visa. The reverse is also true for British people in the EU. Stays up to 90 days are still possible. These are the big lines that are already known and understood. We have made promises in relation to all of our programme promises, Prime Minister Boris Johnson wrote to his Tories. Control of money, borders, fish and all the rest. What exactly all the rest is and what it means, experts now have to find out in a great hurry. Despite the widespread relief that the hard Brexit was averted at the last minute, there were also critical voices in Brussels. One EU diplomat described the mood as not very happy because divorce is not really good news. Another warned, we should not underestimate the economic shock that Britain is going to experience. The agreement has serious consequences for young people, among others. As part of the deal, Britain is leaving the Erasmus program, as I said, for students after almost 34 years, as Johnson announced himself on Thursday. According to Federal Agriculture Minister Julia Klöckner from my Christian Democratic Union, the agreement also brings painful cuts for European fishermen. German fishermen will also have to forego some of the catches in the North Sea, she said on Friday. However, it is clear that the fishermen need to be given a helping hand in this difficult situation. The French government has also announced state aid for the fishing sector. The fisheries issue was one of the biggest controversies in the negotiations for a post-Brexit trade agreement. Brussels and London finally agreed on a 5.5-year transition period. During this time, the fishing rights for EU fishermen are to be reduced by 25%. From June 2026, annual negotiations on the catch quotas with Great Britain will take place, as I said before. And if you now want to stay informed, please subscribe to my channel, subscribe to my other channels. I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.